call this Tuesday, March 19, 2019 Board of Health meeting to order at 7 o'clock. The agenda is subject to change and includes those items reasonably anticipated by the chair to be discussed at the meeting. Not all agenda items may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being broadcast live and will be rebroadcast numerous times by WACA television. Is there anybody else here recording the meeting? Seeing none, we'll open it up to citizens' participation.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hope Springs Eternal. That's tomorrow. So I'd like to say a couple of thank yous to the town through their fire departments, because my dad had an episode this past Friday that needed assistance. He ended up going to the hospital for 3 days.
Oh.
He had a viral gastrostomical problems. Interiors discharged. And the ambulance people came up, and I want to say to them out here in public, hope they see us sometime, that I would thank them for their help. And we were told that if I didn't call, it could have been a little worse. So that's what that is. I want, through Mr. Chairman, to the Board of Health agent, Mr. Oram, I want to ask you a question about a human issue, if I can.
Wait for the question first.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. It's about when a person gets older and things happen and you can't do anything about it unless they control it. I would like to say through you how well you know me as a person that will take action and stuff like that. You told me everybody's health is everybody's business. And when I made the phone call to the fire department for that emergency, that's what I did.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mark.
Good job, Mark.
Hope your dad is feeling better. Nice job. Seeing no other citizens' participation for this evening, we'll move to item number 3 on the agenda. Dan, you're here to talk about the Water and Sewer Department. You want to pull up a chair and get comfortable? That way we can have a friendly conversation.
Yeah.
That may not come that far. If you could just introduce yourself to everybody and
I'm Dan Maurer with the Ashland DPW Water and Sewer Division.
the reason why we thought it was important to invite Dan, we got a couple emails and quite a few Facebook posts, and not that I believe that we run this department by Facebook posts, but enough that there was some concern about discolored water. And then we got a response back at our last meeting saying that it could have been leaves, it could have been something else inside the system. So we just thought it was, let's go right to the source and kind of figure out what would be causing the discoloration.
So basically the discoloration is caused from natural occurring elements in the water system. Iron and manganese tend to settle out within the pipes, and a disturbance in the pipes can cause that to get mixed up and stirred up in the system. We had a couple of pretty significant main breaks that did such a thing. Stirred things up for a little while. It took a little while for us to figure out exactly where to flush and where to get those things under control. So it's all strictly aesthetic. It's nothing harmful. It's all natural occurring elements that are in the water every day. It's just very unpleasing and can certainly be unsettling sometimes.
You guys have any questions?
Yeah, but remember that we had concern about manganese on one of the other entities in the town that we were asking them to give us test results. But how does this? I thought we clean up the water before we send it through the pipe. So how does this manganese and iron
There's still
Yep.
some minor traces of it
Well,
within
that,
that.
over the time period that could settle down, if that's what it is.
Correct.
But do you know what kind of test results show for the manganese and iron on the other end of it?
Where
What
we sampled it,
is-
yeah, I have the results here from all the samples that we took. And all of them were well under the limits.
Uh-huh.
So to give you an idea, one of the hydrants that we tested came back to 0.033 milligrams per liter. And your EPA recommended level is 0.050 milligrams per liter.
Okay. So if you can
So,
give those electronic data that you have it to Mark, so we'll have on file. Be easier for us to look
So-
at it.
3 of the 20 that we sampled came back exceeding the color recommendation that the DEP has. And again, it's a recommendation, it's not an MCL, it's not a contaminant, it's strictly, they recommend to keep it under 15 units. A couple of them came back just over that 15 units. And over 15 units, you can then become visual, you can see it.
Just for people to understand it at home, I mean, I think a couple of us have been up to the plant before. I mean, you guys do superior work up there. We have a state-of-the-art system up there. But, you know, most of the general public probably doesn't understand how much work actually goes into it. So can you kind of give like a Cliff Notes version of how people's water works in this town? It goes in?
Basically, it comes from 5 different wells. The well water's drawn out, it's sampled, that's called raw water sampling, to see what is actually in the waters prior to putting it through the plant. We have what's called a 4-log plant, which is the best plant that you can have essentially for potable water. Then goes through a series of filters and processes that strip the iron, the manganese, and any other contaminants out of it, and then it goes through a polishing, filter. Again, it's then tested again on the way out of the plant. All those tests are done by a third party through Phoenix Analytical. So if there was any problem, they report directly to the DEP and us at the same time. So it would be immediate notification if there was any kind of issue
So
with the plant.
These tests are done frequently or every day, or how does?
Anytime the plant is running, it's monitored continuously, and then other testings are done weekly.
So
So it's a continual process.
at worst, you will have 1 week's time where things could be wrong, but
I-
it's the best thing that we could do at this time, I guess. Yes.
If the plant's running, it's being
Right,
monitored
right.
continuously, so no, I would say it'd be immediate.
Right. Okay.
There's somebody there 24 hours a day, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If the plant's running, someone's there.
So the discolorization, you think just came from a couple of the water main breaks?
Part of being a distribution system.
Right, yeah.
Those things happen over
Yep.
the years that, there's iron pipes out there that aren't lined. Those can cause some rust and discoloration as well. The one main break that we had lost over 500,000 gallons in 4 hours, which is a lot of water. Our typical usage is 1.2, 1.3 million gallons a day. So to do half of that in 4 hours is a significant volume of water that we lost, which then stirs everything up, as you can imagine. In order for the water to get out of the pipe, it's got to be running that quickly through the whole system.
I mean, it's easy, and we deeply appreciate you taking the time, and we know, and I know through my many years of working for the town that, we do have a state-of-the-art system, but you can't please all of the people all the time. So if people have concerns, they can have access to, of course, to the records, they can have access, because we're gonna have them now on file at Town Hall. We just wanna, make sure that, people understand that, yep, we understand, we hear your concern. The professionals are telling us there's nothing here, and we wanna make sure that the records are available to the public
We
as
take
well.
every complaint very seriously, so we have to go verify that complaint, whether it's an internal problem, whether it's not a problem at all. We're still gonna send somebody out to go check it and verify that there isn't a problem, because we wanna know that one time that if there is a problem, we wanna be able to address it immediately.
With the levels that you tested, is there any difference in people complaining about a taste, a foul taste, or was it just
It was
simply
strictly
just-
aesthetic. A lot of the complaints were if they filled up their tub, they noticed a discoloration in their bathroom. And when you're looking at a larger volume of water, the natural color of water is blue. So the more water you get in the tub, the more you're gonna see a different coloration.
Right.
Certainly not saying that discrediting anybody's comments. That's why we go out and we take samples and verify everything. But a lot of those times, if you took a sample and brought it outside in the clear daylight,
Yeah, wouldn't see anything.
you wouldn't see anything. I brought some of the samples so you can see
Oh, good.
what we're pulling for samples at different locations. This was from a hydrant up at the Cirrus Apartments. They're all labeled as to when and where they were sampled, but this one was labeled as sludge. So
Sludge?
again, we take everything seriously. We go sample it, and we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure everybody's safe and
I'm just asking for the people at home, but the water that comes out of your faucet or your shower head is the same water that's in the hydrants?
yes, it's all one system.
Yep.
Fire protection and potable water.
Do you sample from homes at all, or is
These
that-
are all samples, aside from the one at the hydrant, these
Yeah.
were all from residences,
Those are
yes.
all from residences?
Yeah,
Okay,
go right to the source.
great.
And sometimes it'll be, it could be an aerator. The aerator in the sink has some, is rusted and it's just worn out, and it's time to be replaced, and it's dropping some particles in the sink. It could be, a hot water tank is on its way out, or it could be some sediments built up in the hot water tank that's causing it. So there are times where it is, restricted to the home, and we do that by pulling the water meter out, and we test sample the water coming directly into the home before it gets to any of their fixtures to help.
That way you figure out where the source is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fair conversation. Back when Diane and Mark were kids in town, Ashland was infamous for we had bad water. And then we built a plant. How long? Plant's been there now for
I want to say since '04.
04? Is it?
'04,
Yeah.
maybe that's when Woodward and Kern took it over.
Yeah,
but-
so '04.
So
So I
maybe
mean,
before then,
we
it
went
might be
from having a
99.
history of bad water in the town. Now, historically, we have some of the best water in
We have-
Massachusetts, yeah.
Some of the best water around,
Yeah.
stand behind it 100%.
We had talked at a previous meeting about taking a tour of the facility.
Sure, not a problem.
Maybe set one up just to.
Just let me know when you'd like to go, and I can arrange that for you.
Okay, awesome.
If you haven't been,
I haven't
it's
been.
pretty neat to
Yeah.
go.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
pretty neat to see. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's not awe, but it all kind of,
It's pretty impressive.
yeah,
I was
comes
gonna say,
together,
That was pretty
yeah.
impressive. I've
Yeah.
taken it before, I was
Yeah.
pretty impressed.
Yeah, good. All right, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
your help.
thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Taking the time,
No
yeah.
problem, anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Then you got,
Yeah, these are for us, Dan.
we can keep those.
Keep those, I have copies of that.
Probably offer the
If you
tour to
need
the
anything
students
else,
in
let
the
me
high
know.
school too.
What's that?
They should offer the tour to the school's children.
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
actually
pretty
have
neat to
had
see.
some schools reach out to me, and we have done some of those things. We had a group last year come in. They were doing a project on water, so we brought the kids in there and showed them how everything goes. So it went very well.
Well, since you're here and you're the expert, now that we're hooked up, we have the hookup through MWRA.
Not yet,
Not yet. Wow.
almost.
Close, yeah. It's gonna be seamless, no problems. This
It's-
board every once in a while has the fluoride conversation, but,
It's gonna be an emergency connection, and right now we're working out, just the fine details with the DEP when that connection would actually be available. And a lot of that's gonna be dependent on the reservoir level. So
Yeah,
when we would
that's not-
typically,
That's
so,
not every time, but only when there's a shortage. That's
Well,
when they
Exactly.
will connect
And-
and
it's in my
draw.
backyard, so, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, and just if you could just talk a lot, I
That's-
don't know all the details, but I know with the fluoride coming in, I mean, it's such a small amount of
Negligible.
fluoride, cause it's only supplementing, it's not
And
a
then it goes
full.
to the
Correct.
plant, yeah, and then it goes to the
Right,
plant.
well, but it's such a
right.
small amount compared to,
right, yeah, we don't add fluoride to the water, so it's only gonna be a minimal amount coming in through the MWRA.
right.
Until a pump station's built, it's gonna be a very minimal amount, just because the way the hydraulics work, we're not able to get that much water through that connection.
That's supposed to be done before summer?
We're hoping to put it out to bid this summer to get that connection in place.
Out to bid? Really?
Yes.
Probably
We're a
should
little
have
ways
that
away.
conversation offline. Wow, okay,
We
good.
ran into some problems with corrosion control. The MWRA adjusts their corrosion control through pH adjustment. We add orthophosphate to our system. So there was a little conjecture as to which way they wanted to go. So we ended up having to put orthophosphate in the the tapping location where we're gonna be putting that connection in, so.
Good. Well, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Item number 4, approval of new food permit applications. Mr. Maurer.
Well, actually, and I can give some credit over to KG, who worked on the application.
Good job.
But we're trying to simplify our application so it's easier for the applicant. That may be, this one doesn't require a certified food manager, where there's less to fill out, so there's no need to send them the entire application that has additional information for a certified food manager. So we'll be breaking them out, so that way there'll be less confusion for anyone filling out the application.
Yeah. I was also suggesting to Laura that we should use the simple form in a different color, so it's easy to pick out and put it in a file that you want to do it.
Could use
So maybe
a lighter
colorful.
beige or,
Yeah.
yep.
Now, were you talking about making it a fillable form?
No, this is still a paper one. The fillable form will incorporate both into it so that it'll choose whether you want the simple form or
Okay.
the other one, so that'll come back.
Okay.
But we need to
Because I
understand
think you
that,
were talking to Paul about that, right? Not to have it connected to any type of a system, but just so it's a fillable form so they can
Correct,
type in the
correct.
information?
correct,
Okay.
right.
But we're working on that in the future, okay. Awesome.
Nice job, KG.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's Laura, Mark, and everybody else.
And
You vote for
So
approval?
that's,
thanks
Okay,
to Laura,
so we need to
too.
approve it? or-
I guess so. I suggest that we adopt this new form for the non-CFM requiring establishments.
I'll second that.
What's this?
Second. All, further discussion? Other than nice job? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Health agents report. Good evening, sir.
I'm on this one here, so,
Budget.
just so the board knows, were we going to discuss this one
KG
later?
sent that today, so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No,
so
we-
they can, okay,
Yeah.
that's,
So that's
Part of
for
the
the future. So
application.
this is copy of that.
it is
New
just
form.
kind of a,
Would it,
rundown, so we can do that later. Okay, I mean, at the next agenda. if
Yeah,
we
we'll
do
do it.
this.
We'll put it on the next one.
Can I just ask what it is? I'm not, I didn't see it.
KG sent that today.
Oh, this was the,
Just David?
were you here last time meeting?
No.
or
I wasn't here at the last
Okay,
meeting,
this-
sorry.
This what, was the, data that I
Oh,
took out
okay,
all
I
the
see.
forms and did it, and I presented it last time.
Okay.
But there was some questions about some definitions of the acronyms that I use, so I filled out those remaining things and then brought it back so that they can
Okay.
insert in the folder.
Okay.
And the essence was to look at the anti-choke requirements, and then there are some establishments which fall below the requirements, so we need to study that further and then maybe find a way to remedy the situation so that the institutions have full-fledged anti-choke trained person for all through the openings, so that's right.
Could we offer some type of a class for people if they were behind on it, or could we offer maybe
We
something?
definitely,
If we find that there's
we
more.
have companies, I think we have a major company right here in this town that
Okay.
does, choke saver CPR.
We just if we find that there's,
Yeah.
multiple people, maybe we can host.
Yeah, sometimes what happens
Even if there's
is
a small
the
charge for it.
CFM is also the anti-choke person, but the law says CFM can be absent, but at the same time,
Right, so they might have to
anti-choke person also goes
add
absent.
so train one person.
For a CFM, there is a PIC that you can take, but anti-choke cannot be a PIC, it has to be an anti-choke. So that's why one needs to look into details and then maybe come back with some solution at a later time.
Okay.
Okay, and so the budget you have in front of you there, we're about at 73% at this point, and that's based on how you look at the salaries. We're at 71%, so where we have funding is still in landfill contracted services, which is for the landfill. And today, as you can see, before I go too far, nursing services is down to 100 plus some change, 116. So I spoke to our finance director, and she and I went over what the board was discussing, and that is that there's still a line item in there which could help out the nursing line, and that is contracted services. So she's going to be transferring $2,500 from the contracted services to the nursing line services. And I will just repeat what I've said before, is that this was a line item that we were kind of guesstimating at prior to town meeting, and then we were lucky to have a contractor come in at a lower rate than what we were expecting. So that's why this had some additional funds in it. But thankfully this year with the nursing line item, which has gone over, and we've discussed that in length as well, it was there to help out. And hopefully we won't have any major cases between now and the end of June, so we can maintain the average hours per week that we are using right now.
So we're moving money out of our own contracted services and moving it into nurse.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, there's no money anywhere else to do, so we had to take
Excuse
money.
me?
In our budget, Again, I'm
This is for
sorry.
current year, though.
I'm sorry. I know where you're coming from now.
Right,
This
But-
is within
but I
our
mean-
budget.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, you move the furniture around. Okay,
Right.
But
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
Weren't they gonna give you money for the overtime for Laura anyhow? That's not coming from this, right?
It's not, and that's, you can see we're up to 942 at this time.
Yeah, but that 13's not gonna compensate for that as well, right? They're gonna lose some money,
Well,
right?
the way I look at it, we may have around $614 left when all the contracted services is expended.
Okay, so
And if not, then maybe we keep looking at other line items to see what we can do. There's not much left. It's
you know,
hopefully
kinda
we
to John's point, I thought that they were just gonna move money and not to be using that in
Right,
as
yeah.
well.
That was Brittany's thought, was take it from there, but if
No,
worse
I'm talking
came to
about for
worse.
Laura, not,
Yeah.
excuse me, for the,
Yeah, I can,
the meeting time, not
yeah.
for this one, so,
I think once we're exhausted,
okay.
they have to do that, so thank you for bringing that point out, and we did have that discussion almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was a while ago now, yeah.
When the allowance was there,
Mark,
yeah,
I see another sheet here.
yes,
So this lower portion is a continuation of the top
Yeah.
one?
yes, it's double-sided, yeah.
Oh, good, this is, I see, okay.
This is kinda what you've been asking for.
Yeah,
so
that's
thank-
what I
thank you.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank Laura again, she put it together,
actually like it on one piece
You
of.
said it's double-sided?
yeah.
No,
it's-
yours
No, it's
is,
just-
theirs isn't.
Oh, okay.
So it starts in July for the fiscal year, and as of December, what you don't have is we've collected 5,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you have that, you don't have the
Just
other
all in one.
side.
No, we do.
Oh,
We
oh,
have it
oh.
on one side, you have it on two
I
sides.
see what you
yeah.
have. Now I see
I was
it.
gonna say, we have it all here, yeah.
Yeah, you
Right.
do, you
Oh,
do. I
Charge
didn't-
$12 for farmer's market, or what does it mean?
That was if somebody paid $38 for one day and then they decided they wanted to do multiple days and they would
Oh,
add
So
12.
it jumps it up another,
We made it $50
Yeah.
for that.
Correct.
exactly.
Or just it for amount?
Just to
We
make you
don't have
wonder,
a
KG.
permit fee
I
at
did,
12.
sure, need to
That's
understand
good though,
what it
thank
is.
you, Laura.
Sure.
It shows that we are human beings, we help them out.
Yeah, well, you had talked about, I don't know if it's something we have to rush to, and we certainly won't do it tonight, but you had talked about maybe revisiting some of these?
Yes, I'm hoping that we can revisit the fees, look at other towns. Hopefully in the next month, we'll have time to collect data from other towns, see what they're charging. And as I noted, I think Chris had asked at one of the meetings, how was our fees structured? And they were structured by the use. The user fee was based on use. So what we've been doing over the years is adding a percentage as cost of living in most cases, or cost of doing business. So it's been 5 years since the fee schedule's been updated, so this would be a good time to update it, and we'll see what the other towns are charging to try to be in sync with them. And the way I see it, we might see 5 to 10%, which would bring this up to 22, maybe 23. So
Every bit helps. Where does the corner spot fall into all this?
they fall under the same permits that we issue for the farmers market.
No, I understand that, but I'm
Oh.
talking about the revenue
Summer.
actually.
Oh, I don't know if we split it
One
out.
day.
Dragonfly is another
But we
one.
didn't split out their revenue, did we?
Dragonfly is separate there?
One day in the temporary would be the
One day
farmers,
in temporary,
depending on
yeah.
if they're one,
Yeah.
one day of the week, right?
Right.
Well, there were
Yeah.
Are you
a
able
couple
to,
times
are you
when they
able to
were
pull that
more than
apart
that.
separate?
Yes.
We could,
Dragonfly and
we
the,
can
I
pull
hope
that
that's
out
not the right
separately.
one.
and also you sent a couple of
generate
documents about
$76 in revenue
farmer's
from the
market,
quarter?
That was for
I
one
read
month.
that. Does it, is that going
The
to apply
following.
for the Ashland day where the each individual one, vendor
not
have
be
to
right.
have the permit, I guess that's what it said.
If they
Is that,
have-
am I correct on that, or?
Let me just I'll get that.
Sure.
Let me
Beer,
just-
coffee, Danish.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Right.
Just wanna make sure I'm in both.
Yeah, but they're only there till July, right? What John was wondering is how, it's only $76 for the farmer's market.
No, corner spot.
Quarter spot, well, for the one day.
Yeah, sometimes they start, like, that doesn't include June. There was a lot in June and May.
And I think, yeah, May,
Which we
June, and
haven't
July,
got
but I
to
think
yet.
they're done in, they done?
I'm sorry?
Are they done in
They
July?
went into the fall, didn't it? I'm just, it's,
Yeah.
it's just an observation.
Oh,
It's
September,
just-
well,
Yeah.
September had 76, that's an additional one.
You were out there a lot.
Oh, we get new vendors every 1 to 2 weeks. Usually they have a food vendor. Sometimes they'll have someone that does crafts and so forth, but they typically like to see
Maybe
the food
it's
It
vendor.
sitting
matches
in
with
some
the
other-
revenue, so.
Maybe it's sitting in
Yeah,
other,
with the
other
sheet,
bins.
so-
But the amount,
I think it may be
and,
too.
and like I said, it's just an observation. If
So-
we generate $152 based off of this, and I could be wrong, you spent a
Yeah.
lot more time there than $152 worth
That-
of labor.
That's
so
true,
Charged
and
50,
so that
right.
vendor
That's another
may,
thing that goes on your list for next year, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that vendor may go to like the farmer's market prior or after, so it saves on that next
And-
inspection. If they have multiple events for the year, it's $50.
Well, we wanna clean that up, so we're doing accurate reporting.
And maybe we should keep tab of it separately
we
so
can.
that we
Well,
know.
and
add
then
a
this year it's gonna be
corner
run
spot.
differently, so
Sure.
it might not be apples to apples, but
But we can add a separate
just saying, I
column.
mean, the revenue
Put
might.
another line for
Right.
corner spot.
Corner
Yeah,
spot.
that'd probably be a good idea. Yeah.
I'd say probably 50% of the ones at Corner Spot are just at Corner Spot. Others do entertain, they go to the farmers markets. So
And
we'll
mobile food vendors, do they get charged a fee, or if they're already licensed, they wouldn't,
They
right?
won't if they're a caterer. If they're a mobile food vendor, they do need to get a license.
Right, if they already have one, they don't get one separate for the corner spot though, right?
If they're, true,
Okay, if they're already, like it's
So
a
if an
current
ice cream
vendor.
truck that's licensed already in
Okay,
town, that's
okay.
true.
I'm just thinking, so, it
It's
would-
hard to trace it sometimes.
because it would be under a
yes.
different category, right?
Right.
Yes,
Then where
that
does
is correct.
Hopkinton State Park fall under this then?
Hopkinton falls
That's a
under the
one day.
1 day temporary, or they get the $50 one to do more than just that one event. But
For the
we-
ice cream truck too?
The ice cream truck can go around town
Is it
once they're a
mobile?
caterer
The mobile.
at 95 for 5 months.
And that includes Hopkinton State Park?
Yes, because it's in Ashland. If we had a vendor from,
But there's multiple ice cream trucks, right?
well, we had a vendor that was in there. Juniper Farms just called, and it depends on who wins the bid. Some years Juniper Farm has won the bid at Hopkinton State. Other years it was a gentleman, Yellow Submarine, out of, I think, the North Shore. He traveled every day from the North Shore, and he finally, I think it was just too much, so he got out of it.
Yeah, he had the cart though. He had a cart, yeah.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
It was a different
Nice
name.
guy. Real nice.
Yes, he
Yeah,
was very
yeah.
nice to work with.
Yeah.
Mark, does all this revenue go back into our operating budget?
It
or-
does for food because we have a revolving fund.
It goes into the revolving fund.
Okay. No, 'cause
That's a nice option to have, and again, it's kind of the argument that we're showing some revenues that are paying for the services that we are hiring.
Yeah, the only thing that wouldn't is the violations, right, from the list?
Yeah, violations will go to the general fund.
interesting, I don't ever remember seeing this before. I mean, maybe I
This
didn't
is
see it
new,
last
so-
year. Oh, this is new?
Mhm.
Oh,
They
there you
had
go.
started that
That's why.
form.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's funny,
It's
I
not
did that,
new,
I did
but
that
it's new to
back in
you.
the day too.
Yeah,
It's just,
Handy information.
Tracking,
Yeah.
good tracking
it's,
information.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice to see. Yeah.
But you see the amount of work that goes into it and then
Yeah,
revenue,
once
yeah.
you set up this, you can just
Right.
continue to add on. Every month, the workload is not much, so if it's piled up, then the workload is too much to sort it out.
Nice job.
Yeah,
Next one is packaged foods only, and I give the credit to Tom. Tom provided me a form from the city of Boston, and we just modified it to have our letterhead. And just so everyone knows, TCS foods, non-TCS is time, temperature control of safety foods. It's the new term. It's perishables, basically perishable foods. So we was shelf stable is what. So the shelf stable food is a non-TCS food. That would include facilities that just sell, like convenience stores. But now if you go to one of our pharmacies, they're selling more than that nowadays. They're selling quite a few items that are perishable. You know, even our convenience stores are. So this is limited more to, there's not many. We started trying to figure out. There's 3 of them that would have the non-perishables that would use this form, but it would make it simple for them. So, yeah, well, they won't need a permit, so they're disclosing, and it's our 2 liquor stores, or 3 liquor stores probably, and Dollar Tree, yeah, 2 liquors and Dollar Tree.
And this is a ridiculous question, and I'm gonna say it, but why is it called up, it says health permit update, when wouldn't it be?
It really disclosure is
That's what I was wondering,
It's a
you kept saying
disclosure.
disclosure, would it, we wanna change that?
Yeah, that's what Boston used, but we can use health permit.
It's basically to verify that
disclosure
they're
form.
not selling anything
Yeah,
that we would
that
have to
word
license,
update doesn't
right?
have to be there. It's a new code, so that's probably why they use the word
For them to
update.
say that they're not selling those foods.
Yeah,
and the foods are
disclosure
licensed,
makes
right?
sense. Disclosure form, we can change that.
I know it's dumb, but.
Mark, that line I had that question for Ashland Day. Did the policy change, the law change? Because you sent me a couple of paperwork that each individual vendors have to take permit or something. That's what I read. Am I wrong in that?
On Ashland Day, we
We give only one, that's what we have been
Yeah,
doing.
because I think it's Boston Nuts, because most of the vendors already are permitted with us.
Right.
So there's one vendor that wasn't last year, I believe.
I don't know
and I
about
think
that,
it was
but-
Boston Nuts.
Because we did one permit for the whole Ashland Day, not
And that's
for
always,
the Ashland Day committee,
yeah.
we did it rather than
That's how
individual
it's
vendors.
happened.
That's how it has to be then.
that's
I
the
thought
way,
the reason.
they take, because of liability, the Ashland Day
Right, but
committee
would it
takes the
comply with that
liability.
new form that you gave it to us about farmer's market? It said something about it. So take a look at it
Yeah.
if it.
Yeah, oh yeah,
if
we
it-
added
if it-
that to it, just so we may get, what happens is they will submit their own application as Ashland Day Committee,
Right,
so that's where they would check that box. So
yeah. Anyway,
we may get
Should make-
others that aren't licensed in town, maybe 1 or 2.
mhm. Lot of information, that's good.
Yep. So, next item is, we have a nomination of inspectors of animals. The state asked that.
Before you, do
Nope,
we
sorry.
need to approve this, or it's?
Oh, thank you, yeah, I would suggest the board approve this form.
Oh.
Diane's edit, suggested edit?
Yeah, and I mean, not a big deal, but it's just as chairperson, I go by chairman,
Oh, okay.
just a minor.
Right. Oh, that's true.
There you go. Good catch.
All right. I move that the health permit update form be approved as presented with the amendments suggested by Diane Martinson.
Seconded.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, there we go.
Next item is a application we get every year from the Division of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture,
All right.
and it's to nominate Dona Walsh. Now, what has occurred is between the time our agenda was posted and tonight, we received another application, and it wasn't on the agenda, so it's up to the board. You can put it on the next agenda. It's for her assistant. So it's up to the board if you want to do Donna tonight, which was in before the agenda closed, and then we can do the assistant at the next meeting. It's up to the board.
Let's
however
follow
you
the
need it.
law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's follow the
Yeah,
law.
yeah. So tonight we're doing Donna.
If it pleases, I move that we approve Donna Walsh's nomination as presented, assuming that we have the authority to do so. by law.
I second that.
Further discussion? See no other further discussion, but, you know, Donna deserves, you know, a good shout out. She, you know, the care and concern that she has for all the animals in Ashland, and see all of her posts, and you know that she really cares, you know, and she probably doesn't get a lot of notoriety, but she's, nothing better than finding somebody's lost dog, and, you know, so kudos to her and her staff, so. And with
I
that,
agree.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
And the other thing that, does she report any of these incidences that happen to us at all?
Which one happened?
Any interaction with animals
Yeah,
or?
it's always
'Cause
been.
I haven't heard anything from her, but I have seen her a couple of times with the Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
meeting, so.
That's when she wears two hats. Three's
Yeah.
the animal.
But incidents,
three
incidents that may result to a health issue, so,
She would work with us on that.
so that, whether it's an
Chickens.
interaction
She
between
does
two
all the
animals or between,
Barn
Barn
inspections,
inspections.
any dog bites.
right.
It was a couple of years ago we changed,
We don't have to
she
have
used to
the
work for
names,
us,
but
and then
we
she went
at
to work
least,
for the police
That's
department,
correct,
yeah.
yeah. So the animal control portion, not animal inspector portion, was transferred over to the police department. And so she serves both the Board of Health and the police chief and the selectmen,
so.
so 3 entities.
A lot of different hats, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it, pretty much.
Nice report.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Oh, you forgot one. You're-
Green Up. Oh,
Yeah.
Geez, the volunteers are gonna be mad.
Losing it.
We're Green Up Ashland. We're meeting tomorrow night at 5 here at Town Hall for anyone interested. And we were so fortunate at the last meeting, we had gone down in numbers to 3. And at the last meeting, one of our town employees joined us, as well as 2 new members. So going from 5 to 4 to 3, now back to 6. We're not back, we're above and beyond 1 number. So we're doing well with the committee to organize. And then the day of is so important too, and that's May 4th, and that will be the first Saturday of the month in May. So we're moving along. I have to thank all the different groups out there, including our local media, as well as to get the word out, and that's already happening, as well as the vendors who help us out, and that's all done by the committee, so there's no conflict of interest with any of town employees soliciting, as well as all the residents that come the day of, the groups. We have groups that will be coming. A business will also be working with us, so it should be a fun day, and now we just pray that we don't have horrendous weather.
Yeah.
All we need is a snowstorm. Oh my word, that would not.
If it snows on May 4th, you're gonna,
I know,
yeah, you're
I
gonna
know,
pay
Mark.
for that. You're gonna
You-
pay for that.
Can you possibly send a note about tomorrow's meeting to that Prague saying that I sent you the name?
I did already.
Okay, so he knows.
I told him we're meeting tomorrow, and
Okay, so
yeah,
he
and
might get some
he's
taste.
gonna be calling me back. I may not have. We were gonna discuss it over the phone.
Yeah, because he wanted to be on other committees, but he said he's traveling too much, so he
That's
doesn't
what,
want
he's
to be.
calling me from a
I said this
long
may be a low
distance.
load of work, plus it's a good thing to do for the
Thank
town,
you.
so he
Yeah.
might help out. I'll send him a text about tomorrow's
Yep,
meeting anyway,
yep.
so I'll
If
take it.
he's in town, by all means,
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
thank you.
Nice
And-
job.
John, thank you for catching that, John.
We have any additional information from the Mill Pond except that they have changed the staff for better?
Yeah, I don't know, should we be
No.
putting that on the
Not on
next
the
agenda?
agenda.
Not
It's
on
not
the
on the
agenda.
agenda,
Okay.
so, yeah.
All right.
Well,
We don't
put-
have-
I can talk to you
we can
after
put
the
it, we can put
meeting.
it on the agenda for next time, yeah.
Okay.
And I can
So that
update
way,
you right
people who are
afterwards.
concerned also can get an update on what happened.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
pursuant to our
We'll put that on.
persistent work.
So yes, we have the animal inspector,
Yeah,
the
he's-
assistant, and then,
And your item that you added as well, right?
and then we have Janet, we have a,
Mhm.
Yep.
is the agenda next?
All right, review of minutes from our March 5th meeting.
Oh, on you guys, I wasn't here, sorry.
Yeah,
KG
I,
made a change today.
I had suggested that about whatever discussion that I had about this spreadsheet, that is what. So if everybody has read it and if they're willing, I can make a Motion
if you like.
to accept the amended minutes as presented today of the meeting held on March 5th, 2019.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
None.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And any abstentions? So you got that, Laura? 3-1? All right, discuss future agenda topics and meeting dates. That sounds like we already did that.
I know,
think
because I jumped ahead, sorry.
Is there one on the 2nd April or something, that's right?
Yep.
The
April
next
2nd.
meeting?
We're gonna do our annual presentation.
Right.
Yep,
So,
yep. And Mr. Herbert's gonna be joining us?
Yep, and I invited the family.
Okay.
Family's
Nice.
coming.
Very nice.
As I spoke to Janet, she was thrilled.
Plaque.
You got it? Good, okay.
And then, yeah, I think the discussion will probably be quick, but I think with Michael, I don't know if Jen's coming, but I know that was part of the discussion.
Okay.
And we have the animal inspector.
Next one will be busy.
Anything else? Yeah, it'll go quick.
I think maybe we'll suggest something as we go along, maybe if you find something else, could be additional information about
Okay.
food permit analysis or whatever that.
Okay.
This was just spurred by the candidates forum. One of the questions, or a couple of the questions were regarding mosquito control, which I thought maybe since it's getting time for that, maybe we could review that. There was also pesticide and herbicide regulations. I don't personally know what those are, really. I don't know if that's worth it to do. I
Ed?
don't wanna waste anybody's time, but
Yeah.
Mark had answered a question for me that he said we do have regulations regarding that, so maybe that would
Just a quick
be a
overview.
nice update, a
Right.
quick
Yeah.
Maybe
overview
we
of
could
that.
invite,
Ed Hart did some work on it, and he
Yeah,
actually met me somewhere, and then he
Tons,
wanted to
ton
be
of
on the
work.
board again,
Well, and
to get
maybe-
this information to, well, not on the
maybe
board, I
Ed
meant.
could be invited to the next meeting as the first honorary person to be elected at Murray Mortensen Award, so it would be nice to maybe have him here if he's around to discuss the pesticide herbicide regulations. Basically, he based those on hazards. They list 4 types of pesticides. They're rated by the hazard, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, where 1 and 2 basically are not allowed in town for town purposes by the town DPW.
And we've had a lot of turnover for DPW, so
reminders
it might be
about-
worth it, sending
Yeah.
just a reminder to
Yeah, I
DPW
agree.
that we have them as well.
Great idea.
Yeah, over the Saturday, I was at the Framingham State University for the Green Energy workshop presented by Sierra Club under some federal grant. And our state rep as well as senators were there. And I found out that I believe in Cambridge, the Board of Health got involved in the construction of the new high school, so that they imposed no toxic substance to be used in construction, and a couple other things. And they also got the building as a net zero building where they didn't have to depend on the fossil fuel much. So our Minder School is getting a new building or refurbishing the building, so we may want to look in getting into that to see that
Is-
it's healthy and things like that, so maybe we should.
There's a school in Cambridge that doesn't use any fossil fuels?
That's what it says. They're building one, or that toxic element are not to be used in the school. And they also wanted to make sure that the heat issue is handled. So similarly, we have had the heat issue here. So we may want to look into it and put it as a topic sometime in the future. Maybe connect with the committee which is doing the planning, designing for that school to incorporate this new stuff there if they wanted to.
Interesting.
And Mark, maybe along with that, I don't know if there's, do we have any, is there public information here about like signs and symptoms of tick-borne illnesses, of the EEE and Lyme type things, just as a reminder, people have those?
We have some pamphlets, and I believe
Okay.
it's on the website. If not, we can update that.
Okay,
So we gave up some of those things in the farmers market as Ashland Day. We got it from
did
the
have that,
mass clearing house. We got a lot of little cards for all those things with the identification tags and everything for all these bugs. So we could probably get some more of them and then.
I like how you're thinking summer, Ron, I like that. I like it, I like
They're all
it.
In
saying
fact,
snow in May, and he's,
In fact, with this mosquito issue, the climate change seems to increase the mosquito population because of the excess water ponding here and there. And Florida has taken active measures in regulating these privately owned ponds to add fountains or something else to stir the water and keep moving.
The same thing with ticks.
Yeah,
It's
the
always
aesthetically
on.
is good too, so rather than spraying. chemicals.
We only got 12 years left, so. All right, it sounds like we got a full agenda all of a sudden.
And not that we have to do this next time, this is just, kind of piggybacking on your thing, what you had already said about making sure we have everything ready to present to FinCom next year for Mark. Did we ever figure out the ancillary personnel, Kristen, French, and all that stuff? Are we having them here to review what they do so we can, or is that off the table?
I think that's the reason why we're having the town manager come in and kind of,
Okay, so that's
Discuss
all
that.
included in that.
I think it should be, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have the dollar figures, yes.
Okay.
We've got the dollar figures of what they're doing. But, I think we'll wait to do that until next meeting, yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, they've also had some additional changeovers, so I think it will be, by that time, hopefully things will be a little bit more settled and we had somebody retire at the community center.
All right, with that, motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you and good night.